Three, no, yeah, 3, 2, 1. You're on air, online. Hey guys, how you doing? It's me again, Tom. Look, beard's gone. I shaved that old thing off. Don't look like a musketeer anymore. Right. So, first of all, I just want to say a massive, heartfelt thank you for your incredible, amazing, beautiful, in-depth, insightful, supportive comments that you've been leaving on my videos. It's, you know, as someone who uploads videos so infrequently, often I feel like, man, there's probably no one who's going to even watch this, and I'm not even sure what I'm doing. So it's very, I find it a great motivation to read your guys' comments and to keep me going on with this fun little YouTube journey that I've started. And first of all, I just want to say something to kind of clear some things up in regards to one of the reasons I may upload videos so infrequently. I touched on this, I think it must have been back in September sometime in a video, but for quite a long time now I have been of the opinion through my own experiences, my own history, my life experiences, and what I've learned from a lot of research, that there is a very high possibility that I have ADHD, and I've been living with ADHD since I was a child, as my school reports surely would support and indicate. The reason I haven't really wanted to talk about this too much is because I still have yet to have the official diagnosis, which I'm going to go and have within the next couple of weeks. I was on a referral list for about 5 months, but I only found out yesterday that my local area in the UK and health service doesn't have any funding for adult ADHD assessments, so I'm having to go down a different route now. But anyway, I didn't want to start to tell you guys about it or to try and talk about it, because I thought, well, you know, I don't want to say it and then find out I don't have it, because obviously then I feel like I'm misleading people. But screw that, I'm throwing that out of the window. So I'm telling you that I think I do have it, and I'm going to have a diagnosis soon, and then I will find out if I do or if I don't, and then I can tell you if I was mistaken or if I wasn't. I mean, oh, there's a massive helicopter flying over, I don't know if you can hear it. It's easy to, I think, on one hand, and I considered this, was that the symptoms of ADHD might have just been related to being an INFJ, because on the one hand you can almost look at how introverted intuition works and introverted thinking and the very creative, imaginative mind, making many different connections and possibilities that we as INFJs have, maybe struggling with kind of concentrating or procrastination as being very similar to ADHD. But ADHD is kind of, although it has all of that, it's very specific, especially in regards to having lower dopamine production in your brain, a lower developed prefrontal cortex that deals with all that kind of stuff when it comes to having the chemicals that give you motivation, that maintain your mood levels, and all this kind of stuff that has quite a deep implication in many other areas of life. An implication that, although I haven't gone into too much detail about my personal life with you guys, has definitely been there for as long as I can remember. So that is why I'm pursuing this possibility of also having ADHD as well. So I'll let you know how that goes when I know. Anyway, to get back on topic, this is kind of just a brief little follow-up of sharing my thoughts, especially after I made that last video about kind of playing with your expression as an INFJ, to not get too hung up on this inner self analysis and judgment and judging yourself about how you come across, because we do it all the time. We do it whether we're talking or having a conversation, we do it when we are trying to express ourselves through the written word, we do it in everything. We are perfectionists, because it just seems like whenever we do something, we are simultaneously incredibly conscious of how it's coming across, as if we're always performing to an imaginary audience who is always there, and we're having to kind of make sure that we are always going to express ourselves in a way that cannot be criticized or cannot have flaws pointed out in it. So we become very self-conscious and very self-aware. But also, because we have a mind that is so all-encompassing in how it can express itself, and in what way it can express itself. I think of the INFJ mind of like a human kaleidoscope. You know, there's things you look through and you see a picture or an image, and then you twist it and it changes. And I believe, or I kind of like to see the INFJ mind as working in a similar way. And you can, in a certain moment, express yourself in one of those states of mind, and then all of a sudden it changes, it switches up, and then you're feeling like the way you were just expressing yourself, the way that you were thinking, the way that you felt about the world has changed. And the thing that we struggle with is this internal feeling of just being a walking contradiction. And we are very aware that others may see us as being hypocrites, or of not standing up for what we previously were saying in such maybe an impassioned way. And I don't know about you, but I'm really kind of self-aware of this. And for a long time I thought, well, the best way to deal with this is just to kind of keep it all inside of me, kind of just, it's my own little personal circus that I amuse myself with, or try and deal with, and then just find a much more kind of middle of the road, sitting on the fence way of coming across to people and behaving, so I'm kind of considered normal. And unfortunately, if you try and live in that way, it's like everything inside of you is just it will just keep building up, and it's looking for a release. That's why I've talked about the importance of finding some kind of channel to put all that through. And I believe that, you know, apart from maybe the more traditional ways of trying to figure it all out, such as psychology or philosophy, artistic expression is the kind of the form of expression that will give you the most freedom when it comes to kind of trying to make sense of all of this plethora of contradictory human experience that you are trying to process and grapple with in your own mind. So I tried to do that in the last video through kind of just a verbal expression and just expressing in this way that I was in the moment really enjoying, because it was fun. I was being a bit wacky. I felt like I could, you know, express these silly voices, and it was literally almost like playing for me. But quite soon after making that video, I was back with my head in some really deep kind of esoteric book, filling myself up with all of this kind of really out there information, and really digging it, and really kind of feeling super engaged with that. And almost thinking, oh wow, there's so many things in life that need to be taken seriously. And I was like, wow, this is so different to how I was previously behaving. And when I made that video where I was just like, oh, just play, that's all that matters in life. So I'm trying to deal with this now as this kind of incompatibility, or what seems like an incompatibility, in a way of seeing it as an expansion and then a contraction. It just kind of works for me to see it like this, and helps me kind of process it and be at peace with it. And because I think that's what's important, is this self-acceptance of how our mind works in this way. So there's going to be times in your life, or in your everyday life, every other moment, where you're maybe in a period of expansion. You want to be frivolous, you want to experience the superficiality of life, have some fun, not be taking everything so seriously, not having the world on your shoulders, not needing to kind of work everything out and analyze everything. You need some light relief, you need some comic relief, in whatever way or means that you may find that, and being cool with putting that out into the world, while simultaneously realizing at some point you're going to, especially as an introvert, naturally contract. And when you contract, that's when you become more reflective, that's when you become more thoughtful, that's maybe when you want to be on your own, that's maybe when you do want to start taking some things more seriously and really ponder them and whatever. But what's important is trying to find within this dynamic a place of understanding that this is completely normal for you as an INFJ, and to not give yourself a hard time over this self-judgment of feeling like you're being contradictory, or you're being some kind of hypocrite to some perfected self that you're trying to obtain and reach, because that will only cause you misery, confusion and suffering. Okay, I almost think that the advice to just be yourself, that classic advice that gets banded around, doesn't necessarily work for an INFJ, because if they don't understand what they themselves are as an INFJ, which is an all-encompassing kind of mind that has so many different sides to it, then you can get too caught up and too obsessed with trying to kind of find this one constant piece of stationary self island to grab hold to and to connect yourself with in this vast, ever changing, moving, fluid ocean of ours that we tend to constantly get lost in, whilst it's actually accepting that is your mind, and to allow it to flow. And when it starts to flow without your self-repression and your self-analyzing critical assessment of it, that's when you actually start to become more at peace with yourself, ironically. So there, expansion, contraction, you are a human kaleidoscope of multiple different possibilities, selves, identities, and everything that is there. And that's what makes life so interesting for us. But it is important to get it out in some way, so you're not just left trying to comprehend it all on your own, because that is a pretty heavy thing to try and do. Anyway, there we go. That's all I got to say on that, and see you guys soon. Have a good day.